And we back, y'all. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews. This is your boy James, where I'm here to give my honest review while trying to watch my mouth. Not gonna happen in this video, but that's all right. No worries, y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in every week. I'm gonna tell y'all, for Real Housewives of Dubai, y'all is showing up and giving your brother some time here. I love it. I love it. Joining me as always, co-hosting with me is my girl, Mrs. Best. Y'all say what's up to her.
Hello, and apologies for my loud AC. We're going through a heat wave in California, so I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just there, so it's okay. I get it. Trust me. But y'all, we're here to talk about the news show on OWN's Network's Family Empire. This is season 1, episode 2, review and recap. It is a good show, you guys. It really is. I love the dynamic. I feel like this is what Bell Collective and Love and Marriage Huntsville was supposed to be, but the dynamics are different, so it couldn't have been. But I do like it. So far, so good. It has not gotten messed up yet. So, without further ado, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the video, get me seen around these YouTube universes, as everyone else says. All right. So the show opens up with Nicole. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and she is getting her hair done. She said that she does not have time during the day. Her day is very hectic. And her hairstylist Kendra drops by, who looks just like Lakeisha. That's who I thought that was before I watched it the second time. I said, okay, so Lakeisha does her hair. Okay, cool. So they are trying to build something. But no, this young lady's name is Kendra. Kendra is very extra, very much, trying to be seen. And I ain't blaming her because that's a free camera. Why not? But she starts talking about, her husband and how he has, been on this special project at his job. So it really does take him away at night. So they kind of miss each other. By the time he gets home, she's running out the door. And when she gets home, he's already gone to work. So they have opposite schedules. So she says, well, it's 5 o'clock now. He still ain't here. She goes, I think maybe they kind of held him back for the project situation. And I don't know, y'all. Their dynamic is weird as a married couple. It's very strange. And I don't know what to make about it. And I don't know what happened in the past because they're not talking about it. One of the things about Nicole that I'm not liking about her is that she is very hush hush and tight lipped when things appear on camera and she doesn't want to talk about it. But we need it to make sense if you're going to bring it up. So how did you feel about the little scene with her and her hairstylist?
It made me like look at her like, I don't know, something with her irritates me. Nicole, like, get the plug out your butt, man. Enjoy life. Like, she acts like she's so busy, but Jermisha does the exact same thing with her at the company and got more kids. So I'm just looking at Nicole kind of like she's trying to make it seem like she's so busy and all this stuff. I did feel for her with the situation with her husband because I've gone through that with my partner as well with work schedules and stuff. But like, do you want to be with him? Like, she just seemed like she had a
Right. It just seems like,
attitude.
yeah, it just
Why are you
seems
upset?
like,
Your hairstylist is happy. Why?
right.
Like, and where
I
are
mean,
the
yeah,
rest of your eyebrows?
okay, I'm not going that far. So finally Frank gets home and she's on the phone with her assistant. She's talking about the booking that we saw the first episode with Solange, not the singer. There's another young lady named Solange who I believe was a plastic surgeon. She's trying to sell this house and they're trying to make sure that that gets on board. So when her husband gets home, you know, he tells her, because she said, I got my hair done. He goes, it looks, you're crazy for getting up that early to get your hair done. She goes, well, I don't have time anywhere else. And they begin talking about his job. And he says, the project is almost over. I'll be back on regular schedule, hopefully in a couple of weeks. And she goes, that's good. And she begins to explain what happened at Jaquita's house when it came to Lakeisha and her relationship. And she said that she's going to have a sit down with Lakeisha to kind of hash things out because she didn't really know that there was this wall here that the other sisters were making fun of. And I'm looking at Nicole like, you said out your own mouth that you haven't created a safe space for her. So why would you think there was not some sort of friction there? Nicole, I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. You know what's wrong.
It's given that Mama don't want Nicole and Monet to be kind to her on camera. It's given because some of what Lakeisha said, oh, just the family in this picture. That's not something them kids would say. That's something the mama would say because she wants the picture with her and her kids. I think it's their mom that's the problem. Um, it's just how I feel.
I said that on the first recap. On if you guys go back last week on the first episode, I do feel like they chose the hurt of the mom. And sometimes all kids do that when there's this situation. But I'm gonna get back to this in a minute because I'm gonna also expound on that just a little bit more when Lakeisha comes in scene. So the next thing we have now that we have let go of Nicole is Jermisha. She's meeting her mom Jackie and Miss Oscarine. They're at their family hall. They do events at a hall. So Oscarine is help setting up, and Jermisha is with the plan. She is making sure that this gets elevated and that this gets addressed. They're talking about the lot. Miss Oscarine is dead set on selling this land and paying off all of her children's mortgages. And once again, Jermisha being the person she is, she sees the bigger picture. She thinks that, putting equity into the land, building homes or other properties on the land and elevating more cash flow is the better way to go about it. So Miss Oscarine was thinking about it and she said, yeah, I'll hold off from selling it to just a random person, and maybe I'll sell it to all of you. And Jermisha like, well, do we get a discount? And that grandma said on this, she's like, no, you guys are gonna get what I tell, charge her what I tell you to pay. You gonna pay to write me that check. She ain't playing with y'all. She not playing with you, Jermisha. So y'all gonna have to come out your pockets on this one. And I don't blame if that's really the route that she wants to go. I don't blame her for saying, hey, I'm gonna sell it to you, but it's gonna be for exactly what it was appraised for, not no crazy little cheap stuff. So, how'd you feel about this scene, Mrs. Best?
Um, if that lady want to sell her land, let her sell her land. I don't like. Don't pressure her to do it. You have your own. You've made your own base company and legacy through hers to some extent. You learned from her. You've created your own. So I understand you want to keep the land in the family, and there's a lot that you can do with it. But at the same time, let her do what she want to do with her land.
I agree. I agree. Let her do exactly what she wants. So that was pretty much the scene, y'all. It was a bunch of little cut up scenes. So they were trying to fit everything into one episode, and I don't know why they did this. The next thing is we see Lakeisha. She is with her partner Caramel. Very beautiful lady, I will say that. Very beautiful lady. Their relationship seems, very, up on the up and up like it should be. They go out to eat, and Lakeisha is telling her that she is going to be meeting up with Nicole, and they're going to, kind of hash out, their differences to hopefully come to some common ground. And not Nicole, Caramel asked her, well, what do you think the issue really stems from? Like, how do you think this all started? And this is where Lakeisha actually breaks out that says that she actually wasn't brought around the family until she was about 7 or 8 years old. And it was Aunt Jackie, which is Jermisha and Jaquita's mom, that actually started bringing her around the family. And which tells you a lot right there. Soon as she said that, I was like, okay, so your daddy wasn't as present as he should have been. It took his sister to go out there, go get you, to bring you around to say, yes, he has another daughter. So that was probably a stab at that mama when Jackie started doing that. So that's kind of where we're looking at it from her point of view. But she says that, she everything was fine, as a kid. She didn't have no issues, which I don't believe. I'm sorry. I know this is Lakeisha's story to tell, but I don't believe her when she said that, when they were kids, everything was fine. And then when she became an adult, that's when she, started to have kind of this distance with the family. And to me, I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I get it's Lakeisha's story to tell, but something in me says that you probably weren't old enough to understand that they probably kept you at a distance until you got older, because that's usually how those situations work, is that they keep you at a distance, but it's because you're a kid, you don't understand, so you just thinking that's just your place. You know something is wrong, but you can't put into context what is wrong. So when you become an adult and you understand those shifts and differences, then you're like, oh, okay, well, let me start putting my boundaries up and my barriers up, because I don't want to get my heart broken and think that this is my family when y'all treat me like Cinderella. So that's where I think that's where I kind of am calling her out on, because I don't believe her. How do you feel, Mrs. Best?
Pretty much the same. I don't think that as kids, as kids, we know that the perspectives change as you get older. That's just
Hmm.
what it is. But it doesn't mean that the situation has changed at all. But I
Hmm.
definitely don't care for the mama that Nicola Monet has. I don't care for that. And at what point do you say, like, to your mom, because there's a lot of other families that go through similar things like this, unfortunately. But at what point do you care for your sister just as much as you do, the rest of your family? So I'm just looking at Monet, Nicole, and that mama with the side eye. Why did it take till she was 7 years old to come around the family? Did that mean that the family did not know? Did that mean he was not part of her life until she was, 7 years old? It's not okay. It's just not okay. And I don't feel sorry for Nicola Monet's mom the more I hear more about their upbringing.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on
Punish
that.
your man, not the child, bitch. That's how I feel. Why are you more mad at this child who did not ask to be here than you are at the man who went and stuck his tillywhacker somewhere it didn't belong while you were pregnant? You're mad at this child and not your man. Not only did you get cheated on, but you got cheated on while pregnant, and he had to be pregnant at the same time as the other hoe. Nah, and you mad at
We're
the
gonna get to
child.
that. Yeah, we finna get to that in a minute. We finna get to that because something surprised me in this episode that I kind of felt like we need to definitely talk about. But before we get there, Nicole reaches out to Jaquita to say thank you, because I guess Jaquita sent a peace offering with some cookies, and she said thank you for the peace offers. And she goes, I'm actually about to have a conversation with Lakeisha, and she said, oh, that's good. I'm glad you guys are going to talk it out and hopefully build that bond. She goes, yeah, it's definitely needed. So Lakeisha gets there, and she lets herself in, and they hug, and with Lakeisha said that they are the exact same age, even though Nicole's technically a little older, they're the same age. So I want y'all to put into perspective of this. These two are the same age. The mom, his wife, and the side, no disrespect, were pregnant at the same time. So that means you decided to stay with this man, knowing he was going to have another child with somebody else. You chose to stay with this man and then proceeded to have another child after the fact of all of this. So when Nicole in this very much big conversation says, I don't know where the disconnect between you and I was like, this is where I call her out, because I'm like, no, you're not saying what it is. And this child is looking for answers. Why aren't you being my sister? Why do you keep me at a distance? I feel like I have this wall up because I don't want to get hurt. I'm here by myself. I need my family. And you could tell by Nicole's gestures towards her that there is resentment. And I agree with Mrs. Best. I feel like the resentment is because she chose the side of her mother's feelings. And when you do that, that kind of changes your perspective of how you see the issue. You don't see it from an outsider, you're seeing it through your mother's tears. And sometimes your mother's tears, like, I'm sorry, y'all, I have to be honest with you. If you chose, it would be different if Nicole's mama divorced him and they were just done and it was only Nicole. And she goes, I'm not going to be a part of this. But she chose to stay married, and she chose and then proceeded to have another baby. I'm sorry. I know this is definitely, you're choosing the side of your mother's feelings, which is valid. I'm not saying it's wrong. But at the same time, if my sister is saying, why are you not embracing me? Why are you not, you know, wanting forming this relationship with me? I would expect Nicole to say it's because I chose my mother's feelings. My mother was very hurt about the situation, and growing up, this is all she ever talked about, and this is all the fights or everything that I heard. I really feel like that's really what it is. But Nicole's not going to say that, because then that makes it a selfish thing if she did say it like that. So I don't know, y'all. That conversation, to me, I hope and pray that they do mend fences as sisters. I hope they do, because there's nothing worse than losing the sole parent and then going to your other parent, and then there's a whole bunch of tension and bridges that you have to go over just to be a part of something you naturally are. That's just how I feel. Mrs. Best, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. It's a little ridiculous. If anything, Nicole and Monet know that they're a part of their family. Lakeisha having a different mom will always feel left out, even if they treat her entirely right. So I'm just sick
Which
of
is which is sad, because at the end of the day, her mother's no longer here. So if anything, that should bridge a gap. And for her to say, I don't even know how to really, extend that to you, it's like you don't know how to be sister. It's the same thing with Monet. I'm sure you don't have any walls or any tension with her. It's the same thing. You treat Lakeisha the same way you would treat Monet. It's not that hard. Now, this is not rocket science. It's not like she came into their life when they were grown. I would understand if they were grown. Like, let's say Lakeisha didn't meet them until she turned 18. I would understand Nicole a little bit more. But y'all been knowing her since y'all were kids. And because she's been coming around since y'all were kids, there's no excuse. I'm sorry. There's no excuse. I don't care what that dad did. Y'all need to be angry. And then they did mention, I don't even know. I can't even say that was a mention, because they were just saying he's not good with his feelings. He's not good. Like, even though he was in the home with Nicole and Monet, he still wasn't as a present father. Like, he didn't show emotion. He didn't show love. Like, it took his own father dying for him to come around and say that thank you and I love you and all that kind of stuff. And to me, like, I'm still kind of flabbergasted about the situation. Sorry, y'all. I can't
I'm
even get my
not.
words out.
I'm not. I don't know. Maybe it's something that happens in the South with African American families. My family's from the South, and the men in my family are like that. Like even my own dad, it took it took actual tragedy and people having to pass away before he like could talk to us about some of the stuff that happened in our upbringing where he like was vulnerable, emotional, or even apologized for stuff. So I feel like black men, especially black southern men, struggle with that, not just, their father. I'm glad he did come around, but at the same time, in order for they either gonna have to just make their own relationship as sisters and just have it entirely separate from their parents, or they gonna need to keep it real with their dad, and hopefully he'll continue to be vulnerable. But I mean, he's so much older. I'm not trying to be shady. It's just harder to teach an old dog new tricks. So there's only so much they can do with the dad, but I am not surprised.
It, and you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that we do need to teach black men to open up their hearts and learn how to be more emotionally intelligent. I think that we do a disservice to black men when we teach them that they shouldn't have feelings, they should never cry, they should never be affectionate, they should never, show any sense of femininity. Because you have to be hard exterior, you have to be this. And what we don't understand is that ruins men in general when they have children, and then their children be in these type of circumstances where they can't even be vulnerable with each other because you're the product of why they're at odds and at distances, and they don't understand that. It's just, yeah, we black people, we have a lot of work to do. We do, as people, we have a lot of work to do. And it starts with us teaching our children to love themselves. Because when they can love themselves, they'll be able to love others. It's really that simple, y'all. It really is not this complicated. But moving on, because this got too deep. I didn't want it to go this deep, but it got too deep. So we move on to Aunt Nikki. She pulls up to the family. We see this reception hall a lot in this episode. So she pulls up to the reception hall. She has her sisters, Charlotte and Cheryl. They're coming up because Aunt Nikki handles the affair. But Aunt Nikki's perspective is she's in between because she's not that much older than Nicole and Jermisha. And then she's still a sibling. So she's still a G1, but sometimes she formulates as a G2 because of how close she is with her nieces. So she begins to tell them that she's handling the real estate for their mom, and that the G2s are wanting to put an offer for the land. Now, Cheryl and Charlotte are basically saying they're going out of the operation of how these things should go when it comes to will and testament. All of the land and everything should be left up to the G1s, and then that will down to the G2s. The G2s are stepping in and trying to say, no, we don't want that. We want this land now because it will build a solid foundation. And this is where lack of education, not lack of education, that's not the word to say, but this is where lack of, older generation not understanding the product of the newer generation, where they're trying to build generational wealth for their own children. And that could substantially be generational wealth for the older generation too, if it's done correctly. But they're not seeing it in that way. They're so used to those Old Testament traditions. And that's another thing we have to break and cycle is those Old Testament traditions, because that's what leaves Black people broke. Because all it takes is one of us to mess it up and do something wrong, where that money is no longer a legacy anymore, or that profit, or that land, or whatever it is that's left to you. That's when it no longer becomes transactional for the younger generation, is when we make these kind of decisions. So once again, I'm Team Jermisha. I think her vision is exactly what it needs to be. So, but they're not, but the old school, they're not seeing it that way. And our Nikki is kind of in the middle, because yes, her mortgage will be paid off if she goes with her mom's option. However, on the side of her nieces, because she does work in the real estate firm with them, she does see the bigger picture too. So she doesn't know how she's going to execute to her mother when the time does come of how this can work. So I hate that she's in the middle, because I do like Aunt Nikki a lot. I think she's one of my favorite outside of Jaquita. She's another one of my favorites. So I kind of feel like, to me, Aunt Nikki, you need to pick a side, and you just got to stand with it. If that's what your niece is in this vision, then you need to tell your siblings, hey, look, no, what your Misha is trying to do is going to elevate all of us. What mama trying to do is to pay off mortgages. But what happens when, we get floods and we got to take out a mortgage? Well, now the mortgage is no longer paid off because we have to now build stuff. And, what if insurance doesn't kick in? Like, you got to kind of look at the bigger picture here. So I kind of feel like Nikki needs to stand firm with a decision. How do you feel about that conversation that happened?
Okay, here. I feel I can understand, and I guess like I could understand your point of view. I think it makes sense. But at the same time, I just personally feel like the G1s, y'all came from the same parents, y'all came from the same opportunity, and you all chose to do, for the most part, different things, handling money differently, and they had it easier in terms of affordability and how things were at that time, especially with where they are from. But then the G2s, I feel like, came through and really seized the opportunity, going and getting their real estate licenses and then opening up a brokerage and then being successful in that, bringing on their husbands, families. Like, they really did make it into not just Oscarine and the grandfather's legacy, but they really made it into the Braden family, legacy, to get them known. So I feel like because of what they've done already for, their family's name and the brand, that Jermisha, I'm leaning towards her idea and what she wants to do. It's also an opportunity to have a bunch of Black-owned businesses in a red, state. It's an opportunity to do a lot for the community, provide jobs. Like, it can really make them something known, something special. And they'll always forever make money just on people leasing the potential businesses that could be there, the properties. So I'm with her in that aspect. Personally, the G1 should have done what the G2s did. Okay. Y'all want to talk about tradition because you want your mortgages paid off, but your parents were in real estate and you had the same examples as the G2s. And I heard one of them say she was working at the post office.
Yeah, it was on Jackie.
Yeah,
I was on Jackie, and Aunt Charlotte still works wherever her job is.
Yeah,
Aunt Charlotte look like she worked at the school district. That's what she gives me. So I'm just saying,
I respect them for working, and there's nothing wrong with that. They both sound to be essential workers and have good job titles. But you guys had the ability to go in different directions, do different things. Y'all want your mortgages paid off and all of that, but you want your mortgages paid off at the detriment of your younger children who have a more difficult economy and I'm sure much more expensive mortgages than you. So it's like y'all want tradition, but let's keep it real. If they pay off, they have 5 kids or 6 kids. It's hell of them. You gonna pay off all of their mortgages? There ain't gonna be no money left. I said it.
Well, see me, my vision for this, Jermisha, if you watch and listen to me, and then if you need me to come to Houston, I will. My vision for this land, because of it being 2 acres, they can actually build a double deluxe high rise and actually get more. And then also at the bottom of the high rise, actually have some commercial buildings and then build you, depending on, I don't know where that land is in Houston, but if they can, because they do this a lot of the time in Florida. Florida, it wasn't even, I mean, I'll tell you, that land wasn't even an acre. And they built 2 high rises next to each other and then a parking garage in the back of it. And then they have commercial buildings. All of that was built in the center of a year. So I think they should do that. Just get like some high rises because it's over like a highway. I seen where it was. It's over like a highway. They can do that, build it up, lease them, and I'm telling you that would bring in a whole lot more revenue because it's a lot of land. Hi, Jim Bunny. Thank you for joining us, love. But I think that's what she should do. Get like a high rise because we did see a scene with her and Jaquita saying that they should do 10 units on each side and then have parking with the dog park. That's a great idea as well. But what we're saying is, and what Mrs. Best's point is that keeping that land in the family and then building economy on it will bring in more generational wealth. And then through the generational wealth, you can then pay off the mortgages then if y'all were to do it that way. You get so it could work in that same fashion. I just wish they would hear the G2s out more. I think that the G1s are all looking at the stature of it versus what it could potentially bring out in the future for their children and everything. That's all I'm saying. But moving on from here, y'all, because I don't want to stay on the subject too long. Moving on from here, Nicole sends out the invitations to everybody. She invites all of the sisters and then also Aunt Nikki because Aunt Nikki is pretty much a G2. She even said it in the text thread. I'm pretty much a G2, so we can all hang out. So Nicole says she's gonna have some stretch masseuse there. They're not really masseuse, they're like people who do stretches. Very interesting, by the way. Her husband is sleeping and he wakes up because he's actually going to go ahead and go out with the other husbands. And when we go over to Jaquita house, Jaquita is packing because she's going out on a trip with her travel group. And her husband says, what's going on with your sister and Nicole and the contract? Because apparently Jermisha and Nicole have not written up the contract for him to do the photography for the real estate firm. And they promised him they would put him on a contract or maybe some type of retainer, something. I know a lot of times photographers are paid on retainers. I have a friend who does I have a lot of friends who do real estate and they do have photographers on retainers. They give them a schedule. They give them the address, they go take the pictures, and then they let them know so that way they can upload it on the website. Same thing happens with a lot of different companies that do hire photographers on retainer, but they haven't come up with that. And she said, "Look, my name is Bennett, and I'm not in it." And I said, "See, that's the problem right there. That's the problem, ma'am. You work at the real estate firm. They want your husband to do the photography of the business, and he puts his, you know, foot down and says, "Look, I need a contract." So she does bring it up, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I just felt like stand behind your husband, be like, yeah, we gonna get this contract. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that they write it out and everything. Like at least give him some reassurance because he's kind of have his head in there. He don't know which way to go, and this is family, of course. So he's trying to tread lightly. But see, me, I'm a different kind of person. I wouldn't show up until I got my contract. They can get mad all they want. My contract, my money. I still got to live. So, how did you feel about that scene?
I listen. I don't care if you my sister, and she watches this channel. I just learned, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I don't care if you my sister or my brothers. Nobody about to be playing with my husband's money. You're not gonna play with my husband in any way. You're not. Like, pay him. Somebody do the job. And if they not gonna do the job, then Jamisha draw up a contract on behalf of the company. All the man is asking for is a notarized piece of paper signed. Give him what
Yes.
he wants. And once you have that contract, if the concerns that they're posing about him being all over the place or, being wishy-washy are the case, then that contract is going to protect you in the instance that he does do something that's unprofessional or wishy-washy, because then he has to honor the contract. So just give him the contract. It's weird that they're not doing it. I don't know. It just really, really annoys the hell out of me. But at the same time, I'm looking at Jamisha kind of like Jaquita, like, girl, defend your man. What do you mean
Right.
your name Bennett and you not in it? That is your husband and the father of your kids.
And it's money in y'all household.
What are you
This man is
doing?
like I commend anybody who truly has a gift for photography or art in any kind of way and is really making sure that they make enough money to be able to sustain that gift. I am still as an author trying to sustain that gift because I would love to be at home and write full time because when I do work my day job, it takes away from that. So I admire anybody who actually is in their crafts, in exactly what they want to do, and is making the money enough to sustain them from that. Like I'm telling you, from going out in corporate and getting a real job. So yes, he needs to be. He's about his money, and I felt like Jaquita needed to support that. She should have said, "Yep, right when I go to this party, I've been talk to them. I know it's unethical because we're supposed to have family time, but money is money. At the end of the day, there's two of us in this income. I know two incomes have to matter at this point. So I would have did. I would have said that, but that's just
It's
me.
weird that she even let it go, because then the separate from defending your husband and the money thing, like, why do you want to put your partner in a position that could impact like the family on a personal level? Like,
Hmm.
because that business rifts be leak coming into the Thanksgiving dinner, into Thursday night and all of that. So it's like you want peace for people you care for too. And shit, I just don't know. She's a little bit too like chill and funny.
Right. Like I
Like
think she needed to put her foot down a little bit when it came to that. So now that we're at Nicole's event, it's Nicole's event directly. She has the caterers, she has Monet come by, and then also the stretch therapists are there as well. We learned that Monet is the last one to be single out of all of them. Everyone else is, either has somebody or are married. So they're trying to make Nicole's making it her mission to find Monet somebody. Now, the stretch therapist was a handsome guy, and I feel like would have been a good contender, but we find out he's married and doing all of that. That's an interesting career path, being married. I'm just saying, I don't know if I know that's exactly what you was doing. But anyways, y'all, everyone else gets there. He, the guy does Jermisha, and then Monet goes to the other young lady who was the other therapist. And Jermisha is just hollering, slurring her words, all that stretching. They're laughing at her because she has three kids, and she's been turned and flipped. That man put his leg up on her leg. I said, "Well, wait a minute now. That's doing too much now. Wait a minute. I don't know about all this." So, Mrs. Best, how did you feel about this stretch scene? Did that seem interesting to you?
oh Jesus. I'm glad my husband didn't see that. He would have been like, don't you ever.
I'm not even married. I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm
That's
like,
doing
some of them
way
stretches,
too
I'm not
much.
gonna lie. I feel like some of them stretches, listen, used to be 18 watching the channel. I feel like some of them stretches may have been in the bedroom somewhere for me in my life somewhere. But I don't understand why you would do those. It didn't look like legitimate stretches. I did gymnastics, I danced, and we stretching was a big part of things. And the way they was doing it, I don't know. And then they had the
I was
stretch
fine
thing
up
with
until
them.
he put his leg above hers and was
Yeah, I was
stretching.
like, now
I
wait a
was fine
minute.
up until that part. I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, hold on, sir. You doing too much. Wait a minute." Like, imagine his wife or husband. I didn't know which way his cookie crumbled. Imagine him looking at this like, why was you doing all of that? You ain't never did that before. Like, he was doing a lot. Like, I've had very touchy feely chiropractors and masseuses in my day, but none of them would dare do that. I'm just saying. But after that whole thing goes up, the all ladies sit in a circle and they begin talking once again about this land. Nikki pretty much preps them about the whole situation that she has talked to her sisters, and they're on board with whatever the mother decides. To either that's to sell them the land or everything. And Nikki is coming across like, I think Jamisha's plan is what we should execute, and it's going to be hard to convince her mother to want to go that route because her mom does what she wants to do, and that's like on Nikki. All you have to do, which I'm hoping they do next episode, but all you have to do is get you someone that does quality land development. Let them know the figures. Once the mama see them figures, I am sure that mind will change. And I think they're talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk. Because I would have been had a quality developer run them numbers and give me ideas and say what could be on this land and gave it right to Granny. I'm sure when once Granny see about 9-10 million versus
Yeah,
that 800,000, Granny's mind will change. I am sure.
she could. That that's a good point. Come to your grandmother like you would come to an actual investor. Present her with an actual presentation, and then be willing to negotiate and be like, "We still will vow to pay off the G1's mortgages because those are our parents."
Hmm.
Present it in that way. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Then I also feel like, build your own generational wealth. It's okay to like do it differently or to do it on your own. Put in the bid. If she actually puts it up for sale, you can make an offer and you might get it. Like there's
Well,
other
it's
options.
given between the four of them that they don't have that. That's what it's given. At least to me. I could be wrong. I don't know what their pockets look like. But to me, if okay, so I'm just gonna just play devil's advocate just a little. Y'all work with me on this one. I'm just saying, if Granny wanted to sell that land and she wants to sell it for what the appraisal amount was, which was over 800,000. If I had it like that, and I know the others had it like that, we wouldn't argue with Granny. Okay, Granny, we'll write you a check right now and buy that land off of you because we know what this could be. I don't know. That's just what it gives to me. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to count their pockets, but it just gives me that this really wouldn't have been that big of a deal if they had the money and just pay Granny out the money. And then if Granny decided that's what she wanted to do, which was pay off everyone's mortgages, then she could do that and still keep the land in the family. I don't understand why that's not being discussed. Like they are discussing it where she doesn't want to sell it, but the amount to me is what seems to be the issue. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, go okay, that's fine. But I don't know. I just seem like we saw when Martell and Melody were married and that 48 acres came about, they paid cash for it because they had the money. There was no argument about it until they got divorced. And then they were like, okay, well, what are we going to do with that land? So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I just feel that's how I look at it. Mrs. Best, you want to attest to that or anything?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what you're saying.
Okay, very good, very good. So the last thing they talk about is Lakeisha. They asked about Caramel and how are things going there, and she goes, "Everything is going good." And they're like, "Well, do you see anything coming about this?" And she goes, "Yes, we definitely talked about getting married and everything." And then someone brings up the situation like, "Make sure you have a separate bank account." And Lakeisha said, "Oh yeah, we definitely have talked about that, having separate bank accounts." So then Monet asked, "Well, do all of y'all have the same bank account as your husband?" Jermisha and all them looked at her like, "Hell no, we ain't got no joint account." And everyone starts laughing. They start having a good time, and I thought that was a cute scene. But Jermisha said the Braden women know how to handle finances very well, and I said, "Okay, very good for all of you." So that was pretty much the end of the episode, y'all. It was they cut up a lot of different scenes in this one episode. If I missed a scene or two, I am sorry, but it was just way too much of little chopped scenes of them talking about the same thing. Next week's episode, like, it's going to be a blast. I cannot wait because they seem they're going to push Lakeisha a little too far, and I can't wait to see what that looks like. But at the same time, I hate it because I don't want this to be the premise of this show. I want to see what happens with this land. I want to see the dynamic of the sisterhood get better. I do. I want to see Lakeisha, Nicole, Monet really grow this bond. I'm hoping that this is what happens. I hope this show does not drive them far apart. That's all. That's my hope for them.
Well, you said Carlos King is attached to it, so
Yes, he is. So we'll
That doesn't
see.
usually mean anything good.
I agree, y'all. So that was Family Empire Houston season 1, episode 2. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Once again, thank you, Jim Bunny, for being here. Nicole and her husband has some very bones to dig up. When I tell you, Nicole is tight lipped up. We don't know which way this is going. And not only just in her marriage, but with that sisterhood as well. We don't know what to really
And
believe
we'll
because
say, Nicole is the one who broke down in tears this episode, talking about how her daddy wasn't really there. He just provided. And then she chose a man who seems to not really be there and to just be providing. So, yeah, I want to see them in therapy. I don't want to see the family break apart. But I do
I
want
don't even.
Lakeisha to check them if they try her.
Me, I'm telling y'all, I'm on Lakeisha side all the way. I'm on her side. I just am because I understand what's going on here. This is very much Candace Diller Bassett's mom, Dr. Dorothy over there. This is very much reminiscent of that. If y'all don't remember what I'm talking about, when Candace got married and she wanted to invite her half brother, who's older than her, to the wedding, even though the mom didn't want him there, and it was like, well, how can you get mad when you still married the fucking man after he didn't had a baby on you? Like, I'm sorry, once you do that shit, that goes obsolete. Because then that means to me, if you marry a man after he had a baby on you, that means that if you took him back and still decide to go through whatever future plans you have, that means you're accepting the child. This is exactly what that's giving. You just type lipped about it. And
Yep.
I don't understand why. It's ridiculous. So I'm just hoping, like I said, I'm hoping this does not get worse because I like this family. I do. I love this family. But I cannot take the bullshit, y'all. Y'all know me. I'm a straight shooter. What I see is what I feel. And when some shit don't add up, I dissect more. And what it looks like to me is that Nicole and Bonet chose their mother's feelings of how they feel, how she felt about this situation, including their sister. That's just how I feel. And until one of them comes out and says, no, that's not what it is, then I'll stand corrected. But that's how I feel. So take with it what you will. If y'all don't like how I said it, I'm sorry. But I'm just seeing what I'm seeing. All right. But that's it, y'all. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to both channels. Subscribe to Mrs. Best channel. Basketball Wives is back. We do Real Housewives of New Jersey on her channel and also Deb's house as well. So make sure you guys subscribe to her channel to make sure you support my friend, but also don't miss out on those recaps. They're fun. The next recap I will have will be Love and Marriage Huntsville, Real Housewives of Dubai. Do I have anything else? I don't have anything else. Okay, that's it for now. And then when other shows come back, and I'll probably give you guys an updates video. There's things that happen, but I need more explanation on. So I'll probably do that. And then put a comment in there. I'll put it on my community board. What would y'all like me to do an unpopular opinion about? There's so much going on out there. Put it in my comments or when I post on my community board an unpopular opinion topic. Let me know what y'all want me to talk about, but don't let it be done stupid, y'all. Let it be like a real life situation where y'all want me to give my unpopular opinion and Mrs. Best to give her unpopular opinion as well. Because sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, but both our opinions matter, and usually they're very good and juicy. So make sure y'all do that for me. All right, Mrs. Best, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being on my channel, helping us get through this video. Thank you guys for also being here as well. Like, comment, subscribe once again. Get me seen out here in these YouTube streets. I'm growing my channel out. This shit is hard. It's not easy. We'll see you guys on the next recap. Bye.
Bye-bye.